Mark, I know these things are all relative, really, but this week has been a bit quieter. This period of the season is a bit of a pause for thought. Have you been able to use that well ahead of the weekend?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we certainly need it. We're just talking upstairs actually about the next, probably up until January. Between now and then, it's certainly a lot quieter period. We've pretty much got a game a week all the way through until that Christmas week. So that should help us. To be honest, we need it with the numbers being as they are a little bit in a minute, and we're a little bit lighter with injuries. So we need a little bit of time to make sure our boys are recharged and ready to play. But also gives us a bit of an opportunity to train. So the game being Sundays changed our routine a little bit this week. So we trained Tuesday, Wednesday. Boys were off yesterday. We trained today. We travel there tomorrow, and obviously play Sunday afternoon. So it's just given us a chance to have a few sessions going into a game, which we haven't had really for a while. So that's good. And then I'm hoping that in the next month there's plenty of opportunities to do that. Obviously the bits that could change that is the potential of the second round and when that would be if we were to progress on the weekend, and secondly if there were replays obviously for this game at some point during the month. But other than that, we know it's a 2 league game month, and then see how many cup games there are within it. But we'll deal with the first one on Sunday and go there and try and put on a really good performance against a team that are on a good run in the competition.
Yeah, it's almost the classic banana skin, isn't it? It's what the FA Cup is all about. Almost the boot being on the other foot from a third round game for you guys going to Newcastle. It's a really big afternoon for Curzon Ashton. I think they've been billing it as up there with one of their biggest afternoons ever. So that's really nice straight off the bat. Yeah,
look, it's what the competition's about, isn't it? I mean, we obviously experienced one of our best ever days last year in this competition, and they are the moments that you're obviously fighting for. And for us to have that, we have to get through some rounds to try and progress to that stage. I mean, Curzon have been in a really good run to this point, beating FC United Manchester, beating Scarborough. I mean, that was took a replay to do that, and then Peterborough Sports in the last round with a good win there. So we know that it's a challenging game for us, because there'll be surprises in this competition this weekend. There always are. We've got to try and make sure we're not one of those, and that we can progress. Obviously, we were a team that was a giant killer last year. Now, I am not for one moment suggesting that we're a giant, but I obviously understand the story. Being a non-league team against us, it's a big occasion, and I think the atmosphere will reflect that. We'll be well supporting ourselves, and we want to make sure that we put on a good performance and try and start the month with a really good positive result.
Does it make a difference with the preparation? I would guess the usual software systems that you use for researching teams at Curzon, do they fit into that? Do you have to go and find an old videotape and get a recording of their recent games? How does it work? No,
they actually do. They fit into the Y-Scout platform that we use down in the conference North and South. So we've been able to get some good information on those, and footage from people that we know that have played them recently. So that's been helpful. We've been able to watch bits of their games as we normally would do. And so we can get a basic understanding of what we expect from them and players that we think are a threat for them. But at the same time, as is always the case, we've got to go there and take the game by the scruff of the neck. These games are always really challenging, really tough, but it's a nice pitch. It's a really good environment up at Curzon, and we're looking forward to it. I think it's a game to go and enjoy. Sunday afternoon is a little bit different for everybody, but I think there'll be a good atmosphere there, as there always is in these games. We've had a few over the years that we've had experience of. And it's one that we've got to really relish and try to get the right side of, because ultimately for us it's about progressing in the competition as much as they want to. We want to equally. So we know what these tournaments and this competition can bring, whether that's club in terms of finance and exposure, but certainly individually it can really boost a profile and a platform and give a team confidence. And at a time where we've had a heck of a lot of league games, to break away from that and play in a different competition is something to look forward to.
Presumably a big boost, the result against Wycombe and the performance against Peterborough, and that heading into this game it would have been really tricky if you've been at a bit of a low ebb. Really, the last thing you want then is playing a lower league side in the FA Cup. To have had that week must have really changed things in terms of the outlook heading into it.
Yeah, I thought we had a really good week last week. Obviously, to take 3 points from those 2 really tough away games, I think is a good return, and we'd have certainly taken that at the start of the week. And I thought we put 2 really good performances in, really spirited, really competitive performances, and that's the kind of recipe, if you like, for what we need to go into this weekend with. You know, that for us, we felt like our performance level was a real success. We think 3 points from 6 is a real success on the road against those, and the great thing about success is it leaves clues. And the clues for us are that that's the level we have to hit in any game against anybody to be a competitive team. So that's what we have to do this weekend. We have to make sure we find the very best of our competitive level and make it a really hard game for Curzon, make it difficult for them to be what they want to be in the game, and try to be as fruitful and progressive with the ball as we can be.
Tactically, or at least with team selection over recent weeks, clearly being without a left back, your 2 first choice left backs, has been tricky. You mentioned that Harrison Dunk getting it a bit near. Is this weekend too early for him, or could he be back involved? It
just depends how he goes today. He's got a good chance of being involved this weekend at some point, so we'll see how he goes today and tomorrow. But he's got a good chance of being involved. George is struggling a little bit with his shoulder, something from last week. He sort of played out the game but wasn't really able to take a throw in. He took a big contact and fell on his shoulder awkwardly, George Williams. So we need to see where he is. But Harrison's certainly closer, and George maybe not quite ready for this weekend. But again, we'll monitor that over the next couple of days and make that call. Because it's been quite difficult, really, in the sense of the number of players missing. But in a way, it's made it fairly easy to pick a team because there hasn't been so many options in order to do that. And probably we're working from a pretty much base of 16, 17 players, 18 players maybe, from now until January. That's the reality. So until we get a chance to do something with the squad, firstly, or secondly, some of those players that are out probably won't be back until then. Gives us a chance to have some real consistency in the team, and the game's thinning out a little bit will hopefully help us keep those players fit and available going into this whole period ahead of us.
Yeah, that's big, isn't it? In that you've had the injury problems, but then because October was so busy, you're really keeping your fingers crossed for everyone else. You know what you're putting them through. At least then if it switches to roughly 1 game a week, it's a bit more manageable then for everyone.
Yeah, we hope so. I mean, I think the schedule's been madness, really, and I'm definitely not alone in saying that. I know a lot of people have looked at it and found the number of injuries is really high. And I've said this before, but the World Cup's going to be some very good players missing from. I know it's nothing to do with us, but I think you see the schedule at the top level of the game is very, very heavy as well, and there's a lot of players being injured because of it. Twofold: one, because playing constantly is increasing the risk of injuries, obviously, whether that is muscular injuries or just the normal run-of-the-mill sort of contact ones that can occur. And the second thing is then when you're running low on players, you become overly reliant on the ones that do play, and they end up churning out game after game after game, probably not in full condition quite often, and then that can expose them to certain issues as well. So we've certainly found that a real challenge in the month of October, and that's going to sort of leave a scar a little bit over the next couple of months because of the unavailability of a few. But while we are where we are, we've still got some very good players that are available for us. So if we can keep those fit and available and in good spirit, then I'm sure that we can attack this next period of time with an optimism and get some good results along the way.
Have you got a more detailed picture on Fajiri? I know you were waiting on the scans there. Have you got more of an idea now? Yeah,
that's not a good one. He's got a hamstring tear, so he's going to be missing for probably 10 to 12 weeks. So for us, it's another blow, really, certainly in attacking positions. He's been in really good readiness to play. He's obviously put together a couple of 90 minutes in the cup competitions, has had an impact from the bench at times, has trained really well, and got his first league start at Wycombe, and then has obviously turned in a running motion sort of on a counter-attack, felt his hamstring, came off the pitch, and we've obviously had that scanned since, and that's going to be a blow for us, but for him as well. You know, when you've had such a long period out, it's disappointing for him massively. So he's handled that well. He's an unbelievable character. He's brilliant around the place. So with him at the moment, that's obviously a big blow. Dimi Mitov missing, big player for us. It's a big blow. Adam May had his reconstructive surgery yesterday on his ACL, so he is recovering. I tried to speak to him last night, but he was away with a ferry, so we'll try again today once he'd come round. So those ones are obviously. Adam's season is done. Dimi will be the new year. Fajiri will be sometime in the new year. Brandon isn't out training yet. He's going to be probably a similar sort of time frame. And Liam O'Neill's got a bit of a problem with his ankle that's sustained in a tackle last week that's going to take him out for a few weeks as well. So we are certainly lighter in those areas, and any injuries that we're not getting many sort of week to 10-day ones. We're getting quite significant ones, which is tough actually for us to take when they're coming around as they are. But I guess it's just a consequence of the season. We're well stocked in some areas of the team, but quite often is the case the injuries come in the same areas, and that leaves us a little bit lighter. But we'll get through that, and we'll go into the weekend and the month ahead with an enthusiasm that we can grind out some results.
Great. Okay, that's good for me.
Mark, just want to go back to we've had some great results in the FA Cup. We've also had some poor results last non-league opposition back I think it was about 4 years ago against Guiseley. There are still people in the squad who played in that game. Obviously, this is what can happen in the FA Cup. Will that experience for those players, will that help them through this and guide them through what could be a difficult fixture?
I don't know. I think every experience you ever have guides you in some way, good or bad, throughout your time. You certainly learn from all of your experiences that you have, but I wouldn't have thought it's at the forefront of anybody's mind, particularly going into the game. I think you respect every game, every opposition, and every competition, and you know that we're in for a tough game at the weekend. But the only thing that matters really is that we turn up and do what we do well, and if we do that, we give ourselves a good chance. But we know that we play against a team that obviously are going well. They're hard to beat, hard to create chances against. They've got a good defensive record in their league, and they'll make it really difficult for us. So we'll have to go there and be, firstly, patient, secondly, very competitive, and make sure that we match the levels of work ethic and enthusiasm that they'll play with. And if players have to draw on any previous experience to help that, then fine. It doesn't really matter how they get there, but it just matters that they do, and that's the key thing for us this weekend.